Okay, hello, back again. Carl Killo with another video in all my Cupid doll madness. Ha, how about that? Yeah. All right, so, what did I want to talk about today? Well, I want to talk a little bit about college. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is it seems to me that young people today are almost without consideration funneled into college being their ultimate goal. Their ultimate goal. And the ultimate goal being you get a degree and then you get a good job and then life just works. Not sure. In fact, I'm quite sure I do not agree with those premises or the conclusion. Here's how I feel. College can eat away a good chunk of your life. And at least 4 years, right, to get your degree. And at the end of that, you're going to be in debt. More than likely, unless you really, really planned well or you took an extra year to get through it. Now, I would actually advise towards taking a little extra time in college rather than taking out debt to try and finish it faster because, well, that was definitely my experience and an experience that I have shared and know of being very common with lots of college students is that the 4 year degree ends up being a 5 year degree, at least. And it would have been for me if I hadn't taken a bunch of summer school as well. Part of that had to do with me changing majors a couple of times, but that was a good thing. And you need to make sure that you're doing something that you at least partially enjoy learning about in order to ensure that you're on the right path. If you don't do that planning, if you do not plan out your college path and the potential jobs or tasks that you will give yourself afterwards very carefully, then often the world will come up with a nasty surprise for you. And that surprise is going to be something like, oh, guess what? Today you don't get a job at Morgan Stanley, in spite of your finance degree. You're going to go work at McDonald's for a while because that's the only job you can find. So, what do we do about that? How do you make sure that that is not your final destination? Well, first of all, you better make sure that you're very carefully weighing the costs of college versus what you could be doing right now. So, one of the few times you'll hear me talk about right now being more important in the future because what you do right now builds your future. So, instead of making your goal being something like, let's go to college and then everything is going to work out because I'll just get a job because I have a degree, maybe your goal should be this: build something, to build something, to make something. Now, you can't just build any old thing because you got to build something that makes you happy while you're building it. You got to be excited about what you're building. You've got to see the benefit of what you're building. And the benefit of what you're building will give you that desire to see your project filled. Because if you can look at what you're going to make and say it's something like a new phone application and you can see how it will honestly benefit many people, then you can be very excited about creating that. That's where meaning comes from. So if you're a college student, Well, the idea isn't necessarily to think about what I want to do. Well, you should definitely think about that. The idea is, well, here's the problem with college. They trap you into selecting a major. And when you're young, you're like, I don't know what the I want to do with myself. I mean, this is going to be the thing that defines me for all time. That's a lot to ask. And you're asking me to pay money for it. You're asking me to pick what I'm going to do for all time and pay you money for it. And then when I screw up and change my mind, I'm going to have to pay more money because I would have taken a bunch of classes that would have not benefited me for that other thing that I decided I no longer wanted to do for the entirety of my life. I know that was a bit extreme, but that really is how it can feel to a young person as they're going through college. I think a much better path would be something like this. The idea isn't to stop and think about what you want to do. Yeah, you want to do that. Well, okay, well, I might want to do this. I might want to do that. I might want to uh, learn how to program. I might want to learn how to build web pages. I might want to learn how to construct buildings. I might want to learn how to better persuade and communicate with people. But you don't know until you try. And unless you're trying, you're not doing anything at all. You're just going, maybe. Sounds kind of, I guess. Eh. Well, I'll try this one thing out. And then invariably, well, I'll just tell you what happened to me. The time that you end up spending trying to figure that out doesn't benefit you. Well, if you figure it out in a good way, that it might. But ultimately, the extra time that you spend trying to figure out exactly what major you want to be in, that benefits the college. That benefits the university because they don't care if you take extra classes as long as you don't burn yourself out to the point where you drop out. Maybe this would be the way to do things. Make it easy to try out lots of different stuff while you're growing because make no doubt about the fact that when you are 19, 20, 21, your brain is still growing for sure. And so you may really not know legitimately at all what you want to do. Maybe we should make that easier. What if this was the scenario of college instead of what we're presented with now? What if during college you were given the chance to try out 5, 6, 7 different things with depth, with a true attempt at trying to understand everything about at least the basic levels of knowledge of that subject to see whether it's something that really engages you rather than just something that you need to do to get a paycheck. It is unlikely that you will be able to build anything on that philosophy of just working as hard as possible to get paid to do something that will actually benefit other people. Because that's the case where your benefit to other people comes from the other person that you're working for. No, make no mistake, there's nothing wrong with working for another person, especially if that person or company has something to teach you. But if you follow blindly that person's view, that company's view, then you will remain trapped in their, well, you'll remain trapped in their goal. And their goal may not be your goal. Your goal is going to be to make yourself as happy as possible and provide for your own family and to provide for a nice, bright future for your children to live in. So maybe college could go something like this. Let me try out these different things, explore them very deeply, and then choose one of those that I really felt the most engaged in. The one that I was like, man, I can really build something out of this. The entirety of the entirety of your university education should be exploration. And if you explored as many things as possible that were of interest to you, then you could find out the way that you could make yourself happy while providing something of value, well, to everyone else. Well, the problem is, here's what happens. So you get locked into one degree and one major somewhere around your freshman or sophomore year, and then you can't change without extreme monetary cost to yourself. And time equals money, very literally, especially at this stage in your life. Because if you take on more debt to change your major again, and then to start over all those high level courses, then that is more time that you have to sink into something that you were just exploring, rather than something that you were interested in and wanted to find out whether it was good for you or not. Because if you sunk 6 months or a year into exploring something and you got paid for it, how different is that from sinking 6 months, a year, 2 years into something and paying for it, and then feeling like, well, I paid for it, I can't waste all that money. Now I cannot change because look at what I would have to waste. That makes change excessively hard. Throwing away investments is painful, sometimes devastatingly painful. What if you had a boyfriend or girlfriend? What if you were building a relationship with someone who you thought you wanted to marry? Is that person going to be willing to marry you if you cannot show them the path that you're ready to take? Honest. Well, if you could not be genuine, if you cannot be genuine with what you want to do with your life partner, then that ends up building a relationship of distrust. And so something as simple as building, well, not knowing which degree to pick in college can end up affecting your entire life in a way that you never imagined before. Even maybe who you married, who you chose to have children with, who, what kind of people you birth into this world. It sounds a little bit, well, the words escaping me, a little bit, not extreme, because that's not extreme. We're not extreme when we're trying to show the world the good that we're doing, it would be extreme if we ignored the fact that eventually most of us are going to want to have kids, and that having kids gives meaning, and meaning makes life fun and pleasurable and deliriously happy, but it only comes with meaning. No, right. So back to the college thing. Well, here's what happens. So you grind through a degree, and you get locked into one. You finally go, well, okay, I guess this is the one I'm going to stick with, happy with it or not. But at least I'm not wasting any more time, money, and resources on this, and I can get on with my life. Just give me a damn job so I can move on, because it's vital to us to always feel like we're moving forward. If you're not climbing, then you're generally pretty unhappy. There's only so much Halo and World of Warcraft you can play and still get some meaning out of it. And so if you want some real happiness, well, you've got to keep moving forward in real life. So you graduate with a business degree. You graduate with a degree in English. You graduate with a degree in, God help us, gender studies, communication. Communication should be an awesome degree, but it's not. It's a, well, so you graduate with a degree that you're like, well, this was the best I could do. You graduate with a degree that was the best you could do, or was it just the easiest path because you didn't want to sacrifice what you had given up in the past, the money that you put into the years of pursuing a different major, the time that you put into trying to figure out what's actually fun for you and productive at the same time. And so we get this rush of college graduates, and the graduates come out and they're looking for jobs, and well, thank God, at least a good chunk of them find jobs that they can actually support a family with, and makes it feel like they didn't waste their time in college. But more and more, there are graduates who do not find a job immediately after college, and they end up working jobs that people without a degree could work. What does that mean? Well, it means the person with a degree is making a living barely and is pretty damn miserable at it because they put all this time into college. It also means that the person that would have gotten the job without a college degree didn't get that job. And maybe they're hungry. Maybe they're pissed off at the world. Maybe they're ready to go break something because, well, there wasn't anything for them to do that was productive and useful and would make them happy while making other people happy. And then we have this other category of um, college graduates who do not get a job. And that's just the worst, most miserable situation you can imagine. 4 years, at least. A pile of debt, more than likely. And no reward. No sense of virtue and value, in spite of all the work that the graduate put in. How does that make that person feel? I know how it would make me feel like worthless scum because I was shown a path to success and I followed it, and then the rewards didn't come. And so that means either I was tricked or I didn't do it well. And either way, you're going to end up feeling horrible about yourself. And when you feel horrible about yourself, you've got a couple of different ways to take it. One way is, well, I could have done this a whole lot better, and what could I do to change myself to pull me out of this hole? That's hard, especially when you're feeling really bad. The much easier path is this. I tried my hardest, and the world lied to me. The world is corrupt and broken. I have nothing useful to contribute, and because I was betrayed, I will spend my efforts to tear down those who tricked me, those who betrayed me, those who would waste my life as something trivial, because I am not trivial and I matter. And so when that happens, then you end up blaming all your problems on the world. And maybe the world is to blame. But maybe you could have done things differently too. Maybe you couldn't have swallowed every single piece of information that was presented to you by an authority figure as being the absolute truth because you were not taught to think for yourself, because you were not told about other options, because possibly the institution is set up in a way to channel you directly into the continuation of a system that may be fundamentally broken, or at least unsustainable. So it goes something like this. You're a graduate and you can't get a job, you end up having to work at McDonald's just to keep from starving to death. You can't have a girlfriend. Nobody wants to date you because you're working some shit job. Why not be bitter at the world? Thus the cries for increased minimum wage. Thus the cries for more money. Thus the cries of social injustice. This whole system is broken and has to be torn down because it wronged me. So it's the world's fault. So let's burn this shit to the ground. Start over again. Because fuck, this is horrible and I hate it. Man, totally understandable position to have. And they're not wrong. Not entirely. What if we gave them a way to save themselves? Or at least to think to themselves something like this. Hey, you're asking me to at least a 4-year commitment. And during that 4-year commitment, I'm probably going to take on a large amount of debt. Or I'm going to have to commit to really busting my butt and not doing as well in my classes in order to earn the money to pay for the classes. And I'm looking at the jobs that my older friends are getting into, or I'm looking at the statistics online and what kind of jobs are available in my degree. They don't look fun at all. In fact, if I want to earn a computer science degree and my destiny is to be in a cubicle typing away as a slave, if my destiny, I'm looking at the jobs. I'm looking at the jobs that are available after 4 years, 5 years, however long it takes me to get my degree. And if the result is that the best I can do is get a job that results in me sitting in a 5 by 5 cubicle, 6 by 6 cubicle, whatever it is, creating something for someone else that gives me little to no benefit other than a paycheck and stability, while every day I'm miserable, that doesn't sound so great. Maybe I'm not really sold on this whole path of happiness through high school and college, and then boom, magic things happen and we all just get along. More kids need to be able to ask themselves those kinds of questions because we're programming them right now. Join the system or be crushed by it. The authoritarianism of education is at the highest I think we've ever seen it in human history. And it still doesn't make people happy. Whatever happened to trying out life? Whatever happened to working under someone who you respect and love what they do and wish you could do it like them? You ever look at somebody and go, my God, how can you do that? That's awesome. I want to do that. Teach me. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be meaningful? Wouldn't that be infinitely better than having to cry at the world that it owes you something because others trapped you into this path of college is the only way? The world does not owe you a damn thing. And anytime you start thinking that way, it's time for some serious self-examination. Learn how to make yourself happy while making others happy. This is your job if you're young and you're entering college or you're getting close to it or you're in the middle of it. Or even if you're 50 years old and you don't know what the fuck to do with your life. Here's your job. Find a way to do something that you enjoy that doesn't harm anyone else and benefits at least one other person. That's a game you can play forever. You can play that game over and over, and people will reward you for it. You can't just be expected to be rewarded by the world. There is no the world. Other individuals reward you for the hard work that you do. And if you work hard and you find a way to create value for other people, they will love you. That's the road to happiness. You don't climb the mountain and then be magically happy. You keep climbing and you keep providing and you keep doing things that make the world a better place. And you will be loved for it. There's no destination. There's only the road. And the only way to travel the road is one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. Enjoy the journey. There is no summit.